Did you know that a single decision by China to refuse accepting airplanes caused the United States to lose nearly $1 billion? This is not just a simple economic shock, but also a warning sign about Boeing's position in the global market. So, what exactly happened that caused the American aviation giant to be pushed out of the fastest-growing market in the world? The story behind this enormous figure will make you rethink the power game in the aviation industry. The story begins with an unexpected shock in the aviation industry. China, one of the largest airplane markets in the world, outright refused to accept a batch of 3 Boeing 737 MAX planes ordered by Xiamen Airlines. This is no small matter, as the contract's value is nearly $1 billion. The third Boeing 737 MAX in this batch even flew straight from China back to Seattle, USA, marking an official end to what once seemed a promising deal. What made China take this step? The answer lies in the import tariffs imposed by the US government on Boeing planes entering China, reaching 145%. This enormous figure pushed the price of the planes up drastically, so much so that despite strong domestic demand, Chinese airlines had to reject the shipments. More importantly, the economic damage Boeing suffered was severe. It is estimated that the company lost nearly $1 billion from this contract alone, not to mention the wider impact on more than 1,600,000 jobs in the US aviation supply chain. From component factories to engineers and assembly workers, many people were directly affected. In addition, Boeing's market share in China dropped sharply to about 10%, down significantly from over 35% previously. This means the company's revenue in this crucial market fell by 25%. This decline not only meant a huge loss in income, but also caused Boeing to lose its leading position in the global aviation industry. Clearly, this shock was not just a matter between two countries, but also a heavy blow to the US aviation industry, deeply affecting the nation's economy. So, what is the real story behind this? Let's explore the details in the following sections. At first glance, many might think it's probably just because of late deliveries. But no, the story behind this is much more complicated, and the real reasons run much deeper. It all started with a tough move by the US in early April 2025. Washington slapped a new, extremely high tariff, as high as 145%, on Boeing planes exported to China. Compared to the previous 15%, this was an unbelievable jump. And like a domino effect, Beijing didn't stay silent. Shortly after, China retaliated by raising import tariffs on US airplanes to 125%. From there, both sides got caught in a relentless tariff war, with the direct victims being those Boeing 737 MAX jets. The result? Plane prices in China skyrocketed to unimaginable levels. Domestic airlines, who desperately need planes to meet growing demand, were left helpless. The after-tax price was so high it was unacceptable. Even though they wanted the planes, they had no choice but to cancel contracts, because buying at that price meant huge losses. China mentioned Boeing's late deliveries, but everyone knows that was just a convenient excuse. The real issue lies in political tensions and heavy economic pressures shadowing the relationship between the two superpowers. In this game, whatever the reasons, it's clear Boeing is the one taking the hardest hit. You might think, it's just 3 planes, how bad could it be? But actually, when China said no, it was like throwing a small stone into a pond. The ripples spread far and wide. Start at the production side. Spirit Aerosystems in Wichita, Kansas, where massive airplane frames are carefully assembled piece by piece. Then there are the software engineers in Reston, Virginia, tirelessly coding every line to control flight systems. In total, Boeing's supply chain supports 1,600,000 jobs across the US. Now, all of them are directly affected. At Boeing's factories in Seattle and Moses Lake, the mood is heavy. The once bustling hum of machines and workers is slowing down. Some production lines are cutting capacity or even halting certain aircraft models just to avoid piling up more inventory. What happens next? Boeing has to sell off those leftover 737 MAX jets at prices below market value. Not because they're bad planes, but because they can no longer afford the costs of maintenance and storage. Every day they keep them costs money. Worse still, if Boeing wants to sell these planes elsewhere, they must completely reconfigure interiors and technical systems since they were originally customized for China's standards. The price tag for that? Between $10 and $12 million per plane, and it takes at least 2 years to finish. Meanwhile, Boeing's stock is plunging, and once ambitious expansion plans are now in serious doubt. What looked like a simple rejection has spun Boeing into a whirlpool of financial troubles and shareholder pressure. So, just 3 planes failing to land where they were supposed to has rocked an entire sky of industry. While Boeing struggles with inventory, costly maintenance, and expensive reconfigurations, across the globe, their rivals are quietly but steadily moving forward. Airbus, Boeing's European neighbor, quickly seized the gap left behind in China. Not just filling the void, they took the lead, capturing over 55% of China's domestic aircraft market with a massive deal worth $37 billion, equivalent to 292 planes ordered. Airbus's factory in Tianjin is now running full throttle. By 2026, it plans to produce 12 planes a month, nearly double its current output. This smart strategic move shows Airbus's ambition, not just to replace Boeing, but to dominate. But Airbus isn't the only one benefiting. Right at home in China, COMAC, the country's own commercial airplane maker, has stepped into the spotlight. Their C919 model, once seen as a rookie player, now boasts over 1,000 orders. COMAC plans to ramp up production from 50 planes in 2025 to 150 to 200 planes annually by the end of the decade. This rapid growth is bold, but backed by strong government and domestic market support. Why? Because of the price. Compared to Boeing's 737 MAX or Airbus's A320neo, each C919 is 10 to 20% cheaper. For airlines squeezed by costs, it's a choice hard to ignore. And COMAC isn't just playing at home, they're going abroad. Vietjet, one of Southeast Asia's biggest budget airlines, plans to receive its first C919 in 2026. Airlines like Lion Air and Garuda in Indonesia are also testing and considering adding the plane to their fleets. Clearly, as Boeing steps back, Airbus and COMAC are stepping up, taking over China's market and pushing deep into Southeast Asia, once Boeing's stronghold. When people hear about the COMAC C919, many think it's just a regular made-in-China airplane. But in reality, this plane packs modern technology that rivals the Airbus A320neo and Boeing 737 MAX. The first thing that stands out is the cabin. It's not old-fashioned at all. Equipped with a fly-by-wire system, an advanced electronic flight control technology on par with Airbus. Pilots get a large 15-inch touchscreen and 2 heads-up screens that show key info right in their line of sight, making flying safer and more convenient. In terms of weight and fuel efficiency, the C919 performs impressively. Thanks to carbon composite materials and lithium-aluminum alloys, its weight is reduced by 5%, saving about 4% more fuel compared to the Boeing 737 MAX on domestic Chinese flights. The plane currently uses GE LEAP 1C engines, known for power and durability. But COMAC isn't stopping there. They're developing their own CJ1000A engine, expected to be ready in 3 years, which will boost local content to 60% and reduce reliance on foreign suppliers. The cabin is flexible too, with configurations from 150, 8 standard seats, to 168 in a high-density layout, or 136 premium seats with lie-flat beds for longer flights lasting 4 to 6 hours. Plus, the seats on the C919 are about 2 centimeters wider than those on Boeing and Airbus planes, a small but meaningful upgrade for Asian passengers. In short, the COMAC C919 is not just a Chinese product, it's a serious contender, carefully designed to compete directly with the industry giants while meeting the needs of both domestic and regional markets. COMAC isn't just making a competitive airplane, they're chasing a bold international strategy. Their goal is clear: take the C919 beyond China, dominate airports across Asia, and even push into the Middle East. Right from the start, they opened offices in Singapore and Hong Kong, 2 key aviation hubs in Southeast Asia. This move helps with technical support and customer care, while also marking COMAC's entry to compete head-on with Airbus and Boeing in the world's fastest-growing market. But COMAC's ambitions don't stop in Asia. They've teamed up with Saudi Arabia, which is pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into tech and infrastructure projects under Saudi Vision 2030. COMAC plans to build a production plant right there, expanding manufacturing and winning trust in the promising Middle Eastern market. Back home, COMAC gets practical by offering local airlines plenty of perks: reduced landing fees, favorable loans from state banks, and waived aviation management charges, all designed to encourage airlines to pick the C919 over expensive imported planes. In Southeast Asia, COMAC goes even further by offering free pilot and technician training for potential partners. This policy has sparked strong interest from Vietjet, Lion Air, and Garuda to add the C919 to their fleets. In other words, COMAC isn't just selling planes, they're building a complete ecosystem, covering technology, finance, and training, gradually capturing a market long dominated by Boeing and Airbus. The story of China returning a few Boeing planes might sound like just another business deal gone wrong, but it's really the tip of a massive iceberg shifting quietly, reshaping the global aviation industry, especially for the US. Once, Boeing was the king in China and Southeast Asia, two of the most vibrant air travel markets where millions fly more every year. But now Boeing is being pushed off the table. Big contracts are flowing to Airbus and COMAC. Boeing's market share in China has plunged from over 35% to about 10%, and it's still falling. It's not just about market share. China holds a silent but powerful weapon: rare earth elements, essential materials for making engines, sensors, flight control systems, and even missiles. Especially neodymium, a tiny but critical metal that's like lifeblood for aviation. Without it, the whole machine could stop working. As US-China tensions rise, China has tightened control over rare earth exports. The result? Boeing's factories face delays, production of the 737 MAX has been cut, and even US defense projects suffer serious setbacks due to material shortages. Meanwhile, Airbus and COMAC quietly reshape the market. One leverages geopolitical and supply chain advantages in Europe and Asia. The other advances step by step with a homegrown strategy, dominating the domestic market, then expanding into Southeast Asia and beyond. Without bold moves or major strategy shifts, Boeing, the American aviation icon, is losing its unshakable position. This might be the dawn of a new era, where the game isn't just a two-way race between Boeing and Airbus, but a three-way battle with COMAC rising as a real contender. The America First tariffs from the Trump administration, meant to protect Boeing, backfired, causing the US to lose ground in the fastest-growing aviation market, Asia. China's rejection of nearly $1 billion worth of Boeing planes is more than an economic loss. It's a clear warning that Boeing must quickly change its strategy to adapt to the new market reality. While Boeing struggles with tariffs and broken supply chains, Airbus and COMAC seize the chance to expand aggressively, reshaping global aviation competition entirely. The big lesson? Unilateral protectionism can backfire, while adaptation and cooperation are the real keys to maintaining global leadership.